Borderlands 4 is the culmination of countless hours scouring the wastelands of Pandora in an attempt to stay relevant after some major downfalls of the series. All eyes were on this new group of vault hunters and an order-obsessed entity called the Timekeeper to bring a major shift in the franchise, refilling it with much-needed energy that it's been lacking since the third game released. After ripsawing my way through the new breed of psychos, scaling the landscapes of Kairos, and dealing with a mountain of items that never seem to end, I am elated to admit that my frazzled mind found solace in the chaotic world of Borderlands 4, and it managed to capture the feelings I had for the second and arguably best game in the series. However, that nostalgic feeling is only as deep as the Thresher's burrow. Resting within Kairos is a map that is so cluttered that it would make a Ubisoft executive smile. But with all that being said, let's review Borderlands 4 in this Game Sandwich Review. Bringing the series back from the edge. Being a massive Borderlands fan from the early days of the series, I, like many others, felt the series had peaked in the second game. Borderlands 3, new tales from the Borderlands, and the movie just didn't hit. And they made the series feel stale and lost, making it difficult to get excited for this fourth installment. But after seeing the trailers, the gameplay, and the massive hype train that is Gearbox, I decided to pick up my Psycho Mask back up and give it a go. And now it's a game that I can't put down. And not just because a certain CEO is saying I'm not a real fan if I didn't like it. For me, Borderlands has always been about the fast-paced looter-shooter gameplay, wild characters, and unique environments. The story comes second, as the world itself has always taken precedence. Jumping into the world of Borderlands 4, I have to admit, I was pretty overwhelmed. This is the first time the series jumped into being a true open world, but it feels like a natural progression from previous entries. And I am glad that Gearbox made that leap, despite them slightly missing the mark with their glide pack. You aren't in Pandora anymore. Kairos' map is made up of a few distinct biomes, each with a unique personality that sets it apart from the others. You begin your journey in what I would say is the least interesting, flat, and normal looking, the lush green farmlands of the Fade Fields. It's a strong starting location that helps you get used to the world, with some lower vertical areas and wide open fields. But the game truly shines when you reach Carcadia Burn, and my favorite region, the Terminus Range, as this is where you see much more of the verticality and truly get to test your new grappling hook skills along with your glide pack. Carcadia Burn may be barren, but it brings back old pals, gives you means of traveling through the underground burrows, and shows the effect of the moon crashing into the planet's atmosphere. Terminus Range, on the other hand, shows you the massive snow-top peaks, worthy of gliding for miles, and intriguing NPCs that are themed after Middle Eastern culture. These locations are far more endearing than seeing the 10th farm on the horizon in the Fade Fields. Using these new tools, I whipped my way through different biomes with ease, in a way that again, felt like a natural progression of the game's movement mechanics, that now that they're there, I can't believe they haven't been in the previous titles. These tools opened up a whole new world of possibilities, and I soon found myself effortlessly using them both in and out of combat. The downside to Borderlands 4's open world is that I think Gearbox cluttered it with menial tasks and collectibles. As soon as I was able to explore, I was taken aback by the number of collectibles and activities scattered around the map. To me, it felt like Gearbox was trying to meet some quota of an obscenely high number of things to do in a map. Everywhere I turned, there was something to collect or something to do, which for some will be great, but personally, I found it to be too much. Normally, smaller collectibles like propaganda speakers, caches, and lost capsules wouldn't bother me, but they are a major means of obtaining Ordinite, which is the way you upgrade your STU slots on your character, which in turn makes each collectible feel almost necessary to go out of your way to collect. This ultimately hurt my experience, because seeing the millions of markers on the map made me feel less like I was playing a Borderlands game and more like I was playing some generic Ubisoft title. This was even more apparent thanks to Gearbox's version of towers, which are called silos. Though I will admit they are better since you don't need to climb a large tower to reach them and can instead just walk in. I do feel you can remove half of the collectibles in Borderlands 4 and the game would be better for it. Overall, a good chunk of them aren't very rewarding and ultimately they clutter the experience. It's all about the guns, and everyone knows that. Since I can remember, Borderlands has had a tagline, insert number of guns, as if the team always feels the need to remind everyone that this is a looter shooter. One of the biggest parts of the Borderlands series is the gunplay, and with over 30 billion guns in this game, There's a lot of it, and it's all worthwhile. New this time around is the ability to equip enhancements that can further boost your setup. While this is a nice addition to creating builds, I don't think it would make or break anything. In fact, I played a large chunk of the game without realizing what enhancements I had equipped. Once I paid attention to it, however, it became clear that I was missing out, and it helped me fine-tune my build to boss annihilating potential. The other major changes is the grenades. Rocket launchers and a few other weapons count as ordnance. A change that felt strange to me at first, but quickly grew on me as a way to streamline the weapon system. I honestly never noticed that I was using a rocket launcher, as I normally would within previous games. I stuck with the grenades through most of my playthrough, and I never once thought I had missed having a guaranteed rocket launcher, as it did make room for the guns I cared about more. I can see why the ordnance slot is better, and I tested out some other weapons, but the grenade still reigns supreme for me. Perhaps the biggest change was the one I liked the most, and this is the licensed part system, which allows guns to have different parts from other manufacturers. I know what I like when it comes to guns within Borderlands, which is typically stuff that fires full auto and has high elemental damage. Through the licensed part system, I was able to look for specific parts on the weapon that I knew I would like, leaving little guesswork for when it came to weapons. It's an addition that feels so at home that you would think it could have appeared earlier in the series. Vault Hunters matter too. As usual, Gearbox created 4 new Vault Hunters to take the role of saving the universe, all while fighting a personal profit and again by opening vaults in the process. My first Vault Hunter of choice was Harlow. The idea of defying the laws of physics with crazy machines spoke to me. Admittedly, I wasn't sold on her right away. Once I began my journey, it was a bit rough. I died fairly often and felt like she wasn't for me. Then it clicked. I found the skill that worked for me and the right way to use it, and I shortly created a build that was annihilating bosses within 30 seconds. My second favorite Vault Hunter was Amon, the Forge Knight, and in case you don't know who that is, he's pretty much the Viking on steroids. Having figured out what I wanted out of that build in my first playthrough, I looked through the skill tree and quickly made a character that I would sure succeed with. With knowledge of a previous character, I was able to craft a build that I felt confident in, and it took me through the start, though I admit it still needs some work. Gearbox has delivered a lot of variety and substance to the builds of Borderlands 4. At first, it can feel like too much, but once you start tinkering, you'll find yourself wanting more. In combat, these characters are amazing to play as, and combined with their new tools, they can do a lot more with what's at their disposal. So you want to hear a story, eh? I'm sorry for that really bad impression. Let's move on. Borderlands 4 has succeeded in bringing back the story in the most meaningful way, especially from where the third game left off. The story features the fight for freedom and breaking free from the Timekeeper's rule, for he and his lackeys have absolute control over the land of Kairos. To be frank, the Timekeeper is never replacing Handsome Jack, but Gearbox did a great job creating a new evil entity, and especially one that shines thanks to his cruelty and evil presence. Unfortunately for the Timekeeper, Callus, who is the Ripper Queen, was a far more better antagonist force that I wish was in the game more than she was. The story had many highs and lows, but it never felt boring. Instead, it kept me guessing around every corner. Borderlands is known for its comedy, and if you experienced the last mainline game, you know comedy doesn't always land. But Borderlands 4 brings back the serious nature of past stories, while putting in some great jokes that genuinely got a laugh out of me. The quirky, fun, eccentric, and wacky characters have amazing personality, and the jokes land 9 times out of 10. Whether it's going for a new life journey via my Ripper life coach, or going on the hunt for a legendary vending machine, each mission was a treat to play, and I never really felt like the game dragged. Albeit a few missions felt repetitive, but they ended up being manageable, and I didn't need to spend a long time listening to someone talk while unable to leave the vicinity. The final verdict. Borderlands 4 was the make it or break it moment for Gearbox that would determine the fate of the franchise going forward. Despite not having the greatest faith going in, I was pleasantly surprised by how much fun I had playing it. The colorful cast of characters combined with the great writing made me laugh, sigh with relief, and gasp at the choices I made. The collectibles are overbearing, the combat and build crafting in this game went all above my expectations, giving the player more than they could ever ask for, especially when it comes to the fast-paced looter-shooter grind. After playing through the game once, I just want to experience it again, but with new characters without jumping levels. As a fan, I am genuinely glad Gearbox brought this series back in a way that keeps nostalgia of the other games while adding to it in a meaningful way. So with all that being said, Game Sandwich would like to give Borderlands 4 a 9 out of 10. If you happen to enjoy today's review or want more gaming content just like this, keep it locked to Game Sandwich for all your gaming news, rumors, and reviews. I've been Kalo, and we'll see you guys next time.